too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now. With over 35 years in business, top shelf customer service, and innovative commercial insurance solutions, here's what our commercial trucking community says about Seabright.
I haven't had a claim as of yet, but I would rate them at a 5 just based on customer service. How nice everyone is when I call with questions. Robbie.
I am glad I made the switch. I saved roughly $450. A huge difference. Saving big with Seabright. Darlene.
I have nothing but great things to say. Incredible answering my questions, helping me set up my policy, making sure everything is correct. Super friendly. Anthony.
If you're a Swift transportation contractor, Contractors Corner Consulting Group and Seabright have a special rate just for you. When you call, mention you are a Swift contractor and you are interested in the Contractors Corner deal to save and keep more of your money in your pocket. Not a Swift contractor? No problem. Mention Contractors Corner and let us show you the savings.
We asked the Seabright team to help us help contractors save and keep more money. What they came up with exceeded by far what we thought was possible.
Call now to see what you can save. Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466.
So there's like a 10-second delay from what we see, Jeff, and what the rest of the world sees. It's kind of funny to see. It's like, wow, I'm seeing myself and I'm distracted because I got to go back and forth. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 27th of June. We're here. Look, Jeff's here. He's on the wrong side, but he's here.
I don't know why you always want to put me on the left, man.
Because
is it because I don't own a firearm?
It's yes, or it has something to do with graphics. You see?
Okay.
See, because you see your orientation in the frame versus my orientation in the frame. I sit, farther over and do this thing, and it's weird. Okay, I've got to make this other screen go away because my eyes keep going back, and it's so delayed. It's crazy. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Indeed.
Oh, let's see. Who do we got? You guys, I'm home. I'm tired. It was a weird couple of days, but whatever. So Contractors Corner Consulting Group was first today. Just going to throw that up there. Because okay, Craig was really first. He said second, but he was really first. And then Victor Jackson came in. So Victor's out there. James Vaughn is out there. Victor's like, yeah, I'm third. TK's all up in the house. And Sean Bear Hunter, he wasn't even close today. Like, he was not even close to being the first one out there. Oh, Lord. Why did I not take the screen off yet? Something wrong. There, that's better. It keeps distracting me.
Squirrels.
Yeah. James Bond is down there in South Texas, 120 degrees. He said, yeah, he had an interesting week. He went from like this monster hail in Wyoming the other day to 120 degrees. So there you go. Nice. Jonah Green's all up in here. Matt Nissen, good to see you. Watch me skip over Donna just for fun. Jim Wall. Because Donna's poking at me. Doesn't that thumbnail look better? Yes, ma'am. It does. Oh, Lord. Whatever.
Bear Hunter, why were you snoring?
He was sleeping.
What is this sleep you speak of?
I know that's why he wasn't first, apparently, because his priorities are slightly askew, if you ask me.
Hey, Sean, I tagged you in a Facebook's post this week, and I hope you actually saw it, because I think I found your new boat.
Oh, the one you told me, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Facebook is, though. I can't find it now, so.
Drake Duke's not here, man. Just saying. Yeah, yeah. So Sean was doing a reset the other day, and he had this, like garbage backhaul back to his DC, right? And with that, they don't care when it gets back, right? So they were doing a reset, and he was out screwing around and celebrating Stephanie's birthday. Happy birthday, Stephanie! And then they added a vendor backhaul to his thing. He's like, "Oh crap! Now I have to go."
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah. So then he's doing recaps because it was fun. Should have heard him on the phone talking about it. It was something else.
I seriously dislike running recaps myself.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys prefer it, but I like my day off every week, man.
Right? Like for real. Jeff, the Jabberwocky Hunter Morton. Just saying.
Yeah, I selected that name just to mess with Bear Hunter because Jabberwocky's a bigger animal. I'm just saying.
There you go.
And don't come at me with that. Oh, that's just a stupid poem. Those aren't real. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Come at me, bro. Come at me.
We're not doing that again.
Oh. So how the heck is everybody doing? Good Lord. He said, but have you ever hit one, Jeff? Have you ever hit one?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Good answer, sir. So, Bear Hunter, there's your answer, sir. That non-answer is probably your answer. It's one way or the other. You'll just have to wonder. Oh, so I only worked
I just thought of something. I could get in trouble for this, actually.
Do it. It'll be fun.
Because there's that dance troupe in Las Vegas that calls themselves the Jabberwockies.
Jabberwockies, right?
So now I'm gonna have the FBI at my house saying, "Hey, man."
I think they spell it different, though.
Do they?
I think it's WOAUQ97IE or something like that.
WOKEE, I think.
Right.
Because that's how I tried to spell it the first time, and I got yelled at by my editor.
Life on 18 wheels.
There you go, playing again.
My bad. What do you want from me, man? Look, I am super tired. I don't know why.
I want the fuel surcharge because that's what everybody else wants.
You know what, sir? You ask and you will receive. And this week's national diesel average fuel cost went down 0.014 cents to 3.801. The West Coast Pad 5 went down as well, 0.017 to 4.415. That brings our fuel surcharge down to 0.418. Last week was 0.420, just saying. That's a change of 0.0. And the West Coast fuel surcharge stayed at 9 cents because the disparity between West Coast Pad 5 and national average was 0.614 cents per gallon difference. The West Coast Pad 5 being the higher number, of course. But yeah, so there you go. See that? Jeff asked and it happened. And that's how we do things around here. I don't know. Just made it happen. But how?
Yay.
Oh.
So let's talk a little bit, Charlie, about anybody out there that's not a Swift contractor.
Ooh.
So there is still value in our surcharge report. If you're leased to a carrier that has a surcharge, it should be similar to what Swift says, and it should be in your contract. So you can take that national average fuel price that we're giving you and look at your contract and figure out what they should be paying you. And I highly recommend that you check up on those folks.
Unless it so I learned that CRST, their fuel surcharge, I learned this week, but it's different on every damn load. So it's a negotiated surcharge on every load they do.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, it kind of sucks. But you're still going to want to be paying attention to these averages and your lanes and things like that. And there's a lot of information you can get out of that EIA site, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if nothing else, if you're out there with your own numbers and you're looking at these two dumb Swift guys talking about Swift stuff, the national average this week was what again, Charlie? 380?
This week was 380. 8. Yeah.
So 380. So look at it this way: are you guys paying less than that for your fuel?
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope you have some discount card that you're using. And you're not paying retail. And that's one of the things that people are like, "Oh, you truck drivers, man, that fuel price." I'm like, I don't pay that.
Right.
Don't you worry about me. I don't pay that. The only people that pay that are people that don't know better.
Right.
So, which was us for a long time. Just to be fair.
And really, the consumer's going to pay for that. Let's just be real.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's getting tacked on with a fuel surcharge to everything that goes by truck, in most cases. Just throwing that out there.
All right.
Apparently, people want beer. James Vaughn says, I want a beer. Sean said, I want a bunch of beers.
Well, he is Texas, he's got to one up everybody all the time.
James is like, right, I got wall of beer at the house. So there you go. James said he's averaging $3 a gallon.
Nice. And
apparently Victor's chiming in. He needs beer as well. So, everybody needs beer, but I have Mountain Dew. I'm at the house, but I just didn't. If I drink a beer, I think I'd be asleep in the next 30 minutes right now. It would not go well. I'm just going to take a wild guess. I'm going to say it might be some brown liquid. I don't know. Yep. Are we talking top shelf, mid-grade, garbage at the bottom? I mean, look, there's garbage days that are just important. I'm just saying. Hi, Sue. Good to see you. Glad you're here.
Was that Jim Cramer used to say when he was going bankrupt? He had the bottle of cheap bourbon on the linoleum floor, drinking himself to death.
Donna, Sue told me that she likes the new thumbnail, by the way.
Good. Excellent. So should we tell our non-news about the load board since it's going to come up anyway?
Might as well.
So I'm on vacation right now. So I got a call from Jerry, just before the show. And apparently they're doing live testing on the new coating or whatever. So they're using my truck to send loads to and then take them off and then send a load to, take it off, make sure everything's flowing right. So at least they're at that stage again. We won't have a real update until tomorrow when the load board meeting is. But yeah. So at least I know that they're working. They're not just saying up yours, guys.
Right. But maybe they are saying up yours, guys. We won't know till tomorrow, really.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe.
They're done.
Right. So there's we're out. Screw it. Enough of this stuff. So how y'all doing? Sorry, we're a little off our game today. We're both just kind of I said I only worked 3 days this week, and it was weird. I had somebody hit me. I had a tree fall down in my path. It was laying down in my path, screwed up my entry to a store, and had a giant pallet fall over, all on my way to the same store. All three of those things.
And this guy right here, because contrary to what you guys see on TV here, I'm actually a nice guy. Charlie called me about an issue. He was hot on that issue, and so I stopped him. I said, "So how are you doing today, Charlie?" That was a mistake.
Right.
Because that was right when he was trying.
It was on. On fire.
On that now.
Oh, man. And then the night before I got into it with another a different company driver. And look, y'all. Look, common courtesy. Take turns, right? I set up for a back. Dude literally parked in front of me. His spot was 5 spots over. I was literally blocking the spot he needed to back into because I was setting up for, my nice little side 45, right? He literally parked parallel to me, left his trailer sticking out, 8-10 feet in front of me, right where I needed to turn to set up my 45 to back in. And when I literally asked him, I walked up, I'm like, "Hey, fellas." There was 2 of them in the truck. I walked up on the passenger side. I was like, "Hey, fellas, think you could pull up a little bit so I could back into my spot? And the guy's like, well, we're trying to get in 216. I'm like, well, I'm blocking 216 because I set up for 209. And if you just, go down and turn around like everybody normal person does to do a sight side, since we're not supposed to blind sight on target yards, right? Then by the time you get down there, turn around and come back, I'll be in the hole. I will completely be out of your way. But we just want to pull around and back it straight in. I'm like, but I'm currently blocking that. Well, if you move, then we could get in our spot and then you could get in your spot. I said, look, I've already been here. And it turned into a whole thing. And there was a lot of F-bombs dropped afterwards because I lost my patience. And then the way they told security was I came at them aggressive.
Okay. My guess is they've never seen aggressive.
My wording got a little aggressive towards the end. Not going to lie. Not like I'm going to fight people, but there was a lot of F-bombs and screw yous and things like that because I was a little upset. And one of the things I said was, it's really nice to know that your time is that much more valuable than mine because, I literally sat there and waited. So I waited for these guys to actually come through the gate, right? I was set up and I saw them starting to roll through the gate and the spots that I was parking in are right just inside the gate. So instead of pulling out and just blocking them in, right, I waited for them to come by. So I didn't block the whole driveway for them since they were coming through, right? I mean, I was really trying to be helpful here. But, whatever. Anyhow, it was a weird week, man. Like things were just not working for me at all. And it just took every ounce of energy I had this week for my whole 3 days. And now I got to get a DOT inspection on the truck tomorrow because I am a failure and I didn't pay attention. So I thought, because I read something in the service schedule thing, right? When I got my 100,000 mile service done, I thought I got a DOT inspection done. I didn't ask for it. I thought for some reason I read something in it that triggered my brain that thought I got it with that service. And I didn't. And I'm silly.
Well, they used to automatically do a DOT every time you had a B service done. That's
Right.
what it used to be.
Yeah. I kind of miss that. I'm not going to lie. You never had to worry about it,
Yeah.
But then people were complaining, oh, you charged me for a DOT. And they're like, whoa, okay, that's valid. So,
Well, they also used to require them at Swift every 90 days. So,
Hey, tell me about this bit thing. So I ran to Cali last week, right? Was I supposed to have a bit inspection before I went there?
no. No, you have to be running primarily California to need that.
Okay. That one triggered in my head earlier because someone had asked about bit inspections and why we have to have them and things like that. And I was like, oh, I've been so out of that, having not run California in 6 years.
Because you spend too much time in California. That's why.
There you go. Do you happen to know the percentage, or is it just?
No, I'd have to ask Ken about that.
I was curious. And
I'm just going to come out and say this because I want to congratulate Ken. He is officially going to retire in, where was it? One of those tea countries.
Thailand?
Thailand. Yeah. He's for those of you who don't know,
like
he's a little older than Charlie and I. And
about 100 years older.
He's able to go and do that, and he's on his way and into those golden years, which for him probably isn't, sitting on a beach somewhere. I know he's got business interests over there, so good for him. That's what we like to see, is people that are able to do stuff like that eventually.
How was that show, Life on 18 Wheels? Was it good? It's been a long time since I've gone to a Texas truck show. Oh, Jeff and I are going to one. We're going to the Expediter show, which coexists or coincides with the what is it? It's the Crossroads of America truck show. Jeff and I are going to be hanging out over at the Expediter Expo side of it, I think. But that's in July 20th and 21st. Something like that.
21st, 22nd, I think.
So, yeah,
I'd have to look at the flyer.
I know the 21st is the date because that's the day we're supposed to be on the radio.
Yep. So we go on Nemo.
Apparently, Jeff and I are going to be speaking on 2 different occasions during that whole thing, doing something. I don't know, answering questions and stuff. I don't really know what the hell.
So we're gonna be doing the Nemo show at 9 a.m. Eastern. I think it's Eastern.
Yeah.
It might be Central, but I think it's Eastern. And then we're gonna be hanging out at Trucker CFO's booth for an hour on each day.
On 2 days, yeah.
Yeah, and answering questions and getting to know people. And
He also said something about some panel or something.
oh, I missed that.
It was in the itinerary. I can't remember what the heck it said. I was just like, yes, I'll do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I agreed to now. Could be fun. If I end up on stage wearing a pink tutu, just saying, I agreed to it. I'll do it.
Every time somebody mentions a peak tutu, it reminds me of that episode of Cops where they couldn't get that guy out of his dots to pick up. And they like drew down on him and everything. He's like, I don't want to get out. He gets out. He's wearing pink tutu, tights, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And the cops were like, yeah, I wouldn't want to get out either.
Oh, Lord.
And that was in Texas. So, yeah, whole other issue there.
Squirrel, Lisa. I see you.
What?
Just
Where?
saying. Exactly. Drake said Safeway took 3 hours to give him back his bills. Cost him 2,000-mile load for tomorrow. That sucks.
Yep. Grocery.
Man.
You know, I have a strategy for grocery, and it does kind of suck. I will say no to loads until I'm done with that place because of that exactly.
Right?
Get a good PTA once I'm done, and then get a plan.
It's unfortunate you have to do it that way because you never know
And,
if it's going to be 2
know,
hours
if you're,
or 8 or 16.
And you know, Charlie and I run dry van. Well, Charlie runs reefer for Target, but OTR we're dry van guys. And you reefer guys, if you're on reefer, Drake, I mean, sorry about that. A lot of grocery DCs on that reefer side.
Right.
So it's definitely something to learn how to manage that.
Fort Wayne, Indiana, apparently is where this one is.
Yes. Yeah, and one of the reasons we're excited, not just because of the Nemo show, not just because of the hobnobbing around with people, but so the expedited part of our industry is something Charlie and I have never done.
Right. And
so we plan on pumping people for information, and hopefully we get some cameras on some people and they'll agree to be interviewed and we can do some stuff. Because that's one of the things, as you go through your journey, we kind of tagged it company to carrier, the idea that you start off and get your CDL from somebody that'll pay for it. Right. You drive company for a while, learn the business, maybe you lease a truck, maybe you have the money to buy a truck, you go straight to your own authority, but eventually you get to your own authority. And what do you do with that? I tell you, these expedited guys, they make good money even now.
Expedited LTL is a crazy market too, but that's a lot of damn work. I didn't like doing LTL. I did quite a bit of it for my short stint with FFE and doing LTL refrigerated. Oh my God, dude. It was terrible. I'm sure the company made it billions of dollars off every load.
LTL, if you own your truck too, I mean, if you look at your owner's manual for your truck, it'll have different maintenance intervals depending on what your operation is.
Right.
OTR efficient, which is kind of what we do, is the longest interval between like filter changes, oil changes, things like that.
Right.
You're doing LTL and you're back down at that 25,000 miles. You got to replace everything.
Right.
Because there's that much more wear on the engine, on the oil and everything, doing that stop and go traffic all day, every day.
It's a trip, man. It was a lot of damn work. So I did a little bit of pallet jacking and stuff like that, and FFE back in the day got you like this little ID card license to run electric pallet jacks. So they would actually, if we had to do all that loading, they would let us use their equipment on the docks, right? Which was always quicker than waiting for them to do it anyhow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even still, man, it was like, and they're all grocery related. So you're at one grocery DC, you're at another, farm, you're at this place, you're at that place, this frozen place, this refrigerated place, all in one day, and you're like, holy hell, I haven't left the town yet.
Well, you talk about a place like Safeway or Albertsons, which are the two that generally hold people up the longest.
Right.
They will let you unload your own truck. But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. Those are union shops,
Right.
and they will actually let you use a pallet jack, a manual hand pallet jack.
Right.
They will not let you use one of their nice ones, and it might be missing a wheel. You don't know.
Mhm.
You know?
It's only got half the hydraulic fluid in the pump, so you can't even hardly get it up far enough to get it past the ramp. Stop it, Jeff. I see. My brain's stuck there too. Oh my God! I paused. There was a weird pause.
Is that what the blue grease is for?
Right. Exactly. Oh man. Live on 18 Wheels, dude. We'll be there. Let us know if you show up, man. We'll meet up and.
I gotta stop that stuff now that my wife's actually watching the show these days.
Right. You're gonna get in trouble. I think she should go smack you right now on camera just for things she doesn't even know you said. Oh, Jeff. Hey, let's talk about. So we did this podcast, and you guys are welcome to go check it out. I don't have a link ready to put up. It's in the Facebook groups, and it's on the Facebook public page. There's a way to go check out the podcast. Our second half of our podcast, the podcast that we did with ES Advantage dropped today. But one of the things that we talked about was 5 things, right? What we think are 5 important things that people need to. Yeah, look, Jeff's got his. No, wait, let me get mine here. 5 things that you should know or learn when you're starting this business stuff, right? And I think that's a good way to put it. It's a little convoluted the way I just went around there with my brain being the way it is today, but we got there. So, and we thought, you know what? Let's touch on that today. So,
yeah. So when Jeff Reese asked us to do this, he's like, "So I want from you guys. Here's what I really want. I want 5 things that you think the guys that want to get into the business need to do and they need to know." And so Charley was at my house, and we'd been busy because we had the conference that week in Vegas, right? So we get to my house, and we're like, "Oh, we got to come up with 5 things." And we talk about so much stuff. That was actually kind of an ordeal to nail down 5 things,
Right.
wasn't it? So we did. We nailed down 5 things, and everybody knows what number 1's going to be, right, Charley? At least they should by now.
I would think they would know at this point, but go ahead and drop it because this is your baby.
So the number 1 thing that you need to know getting into this business and to succeed in this business is to know your why. We harp on that on the Facebook groups all the time. If you were to call me to go over some things, I'm going to ask you first question: why do you do what you do? Why are you even in business? And I we can, you can make it. You can think that sounds harsh, or you can take it as it is. Without a clear, concise reason that you're in business,
Right.
It's really tough to make it through times like these.
Right. For real.
We monitor how many people come and go from the private Facebook group that we have that is all Swift contractors. And almost every time someone leaves, they either get terminated by Swift or they terminate their own contract, whatever the case may be. We don't know why they left it. We just know that they left Swift. We look at their profile and see how often they ask questions, how often they interact with the group.
Right.
Because if they interacted with me at all, I'm going to harp on this why thing. It's that important.
Right. Like you can't even get Jeff past that until we've gotten to that. What is your why? And it doesn't have to be. It's nothing magical. It needs to be your why, though.
Yeah.
And that needs to be important to you.
Yeah, and where this really comes from is all the success literature I've ever read says, sit down and write out your why, your big purpose, whatever. But the most compelling reason for this is a book by Viktor Frankl. A lot of you know about it already, Man's Search for Meaning. And he came up with, it wasn't really new, but he coined the phrase logotherapy. He was a psychiatrist he was in the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. And while he was there, he figured out that the prisoners in the camps that had a strong reason to live lived. Those
Right.
that didn't died.
It's crazy.
Just that reason of I need to live because of this. And it didn't matter what the reason was. You know, some of these guys just wanted to live so that they could get liberated and kill Nazis. They wanted vengeance.
Right.
Now, a lot of us would say, well, that's not a great reason. Well, it kept them alive.
It was theirs.
Some people had a more religious view. They had the God as the why. Some people just, they wanted it to be over, but they wanted to live.
Right.
That was their why. But they had a why. And the people that lost focus on their why they wanted to live died. Like within weeks, he writes that it's within weeks. You know,
and that's crazy.
That they would die.
But the same can be said for your business.
So the business aspect, it's the same. You know, chances are if you lost your business tomorrow, would you die? Probably not. But we call it making a living for a reason. You know, it's a living. That's what we do. So that's why we harp on that so much. For me, it goes all the way back to before anything. But what's number 2 on there, Charlie?
So the second one is going to be education. And education, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, nobody likes education, but education is expensive, and that cost can be can come in many different forms. It can come in mental cost, right? Agony, pain. I mean, there are times when you just make a stupid mistake and you're like, oh God, why did I do that? Right. And that mental mistake could simply cost you money in your business. Right. Mm-hmm. Or you could go out and you could pay for some sort of formal education towards a specific topic or subject that you have a focus on or you want to learn more about. But education, I mean, we're not talking about you don't need an MBA, right, to run a trucking company. You don't. But you do need to understand some basic bookkeeping. You need to understand a little bit of business math, right? Mm-hmm. What is a profit and loss statement? What are profits versus gross income? You know, what's your net income versus gross income? You know, you hear a lot of these companies, they're like, come to our company. Carrier ABQ97 is the greatest ever because our contractors, they make $400,000 every year without fail. And then you talk to that company and you talk to their contractors, and they're like, yeah, bro, but I only take home $60K. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was speaking with someone who I'm building a relationship with now, and she's currently over at CRST, and we went over her most recent settlement versus my most recent settlement, you know, and we compared. And, you know, and I'm not trying to bust CRST out. I mean, this could be said with any company, you know, if you want to know what's going on, then let's compare apples to apples. And it just so happened that Rosie and I actually had a decent team week because we were OTR for the week. We did right around 6,000 miles for the week. And we started breaking down, you know, what are the costs at the company you're at versus what are the costs where we're at, right? And, you know, at the gross revenue per mile, she was making 22 cents more per mile than I was, right? That's a pretty good number. 22 cents more per mile. But when we broke down the net revenue per mile, she was doing $1.75. I was doing $1.54 that week. And our net revenue per mile was 12 cents. I was making 12 cents more per mile net.
In your bank account.
In the bank account. So, I mean, that's a pretty big discrepancy, you know, disparity. Any of those words you want to throw in there, it was there, right? And I think we were right around, I think that week was 0.95 after all expenses were said and done, was 0.95 cents per mile into the bank. Pre-tax, of course. So And hers was 0.81. I'm pretty sure that's positive. I'm pretty sure that's the right
It
number.
was around there. Yeah.
But it's pretty close. We were about 12 or 13 cents. And so I mean it makes a big difference when you add that number up over the course of the year, right? And so, that's one of those things, you need to understand, that gross is great. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't matter if you're not keeping net, right? And there's so much more that we can learn. We have all this time to learn. We spend time on Audible. Like I spent years listening to nothing but business books, negotiation, business psychology, things of that nature. That's all I listened to until Jeff turned me loose on this fiction stuff. And now I'm like stuck in this, sci-fi survival military fiction,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. Like, so the series I'm on right now, just for fun, is which is Helldivers. Oh my god, I am a junkie. I'm on like book 10 of 11, and I'm really bummed because I'm gonna be done with 10 here as soon as I go back to work, and then 11 will be shot out the next 2 days, and I'm gonna be done. Anyhow,
and for those of you guys that follow what we're listening to, by the way, there is going to be another Skippy book in December.
yes, so excited about that.
We thought it was over, but it's not, and we're
right.
happy.
Jim Wall, I like learning from other people's mistakes, and look, one of the things that Jeff and I
you should listen to us then,
right?
We will tell you what
we have made some whoppers, yo. I mean, seriously, that literally. I mean, our worst one is probably not swapping to a fuel card, outside of our carrier, because we were stubborn, and several trucks we could have paid cash for, having made that switch at the beginning. So for you guys who are new and starting out, guess what? We can save you thousands. Get your own fuel card. Take care of that, manage it.
Part of education too, guys, though, is never think you know everything. Ask a lot of questions of those of us that have been around a while. One of the things that I'm just going to come out and say it, and I know it's going to torque some people off. When we're talking on the Facebooks to people, well, so are you using the ESA card? Well, I can't afford it. What do you mean you can't afford it? You can't afford to save $200 a week on fuel.
You're killing me, Smalls. Sorry.
You're killing me. And, if you ask one more follow-up question, I actually could tell you how to build that card up without hurting your rent or mortgage or whatever it is you have.
Might take a little time, but there's a way.
People get stuck in their head. Oh, I can't do this. Well, the only reason you think that is because you don't know any better.
Right.
Learn better. Learn better business practices. Don't think that don't think that any of us old fogies are gonna like yell at you or something. We're not your dad.
Right.
We're just gonna say, hey man, this is how I did it.
I'll yell at Sean though, just because it's fun.
Well, Sean deserves it. That guy.
But yeah, I mean, so there's an awful lot in our industry that people will not share. Mm-hmm. They just won't. They don't want to share their mistakes. They don't want to share their triumphs. They think that, oh, I'm an idiot for the failures, and you'll steal my great idea. Right. Mm-hmm. So we don't talk about it. I mean, as an industry, as a whole, nobody wants to talk, right? And it's just an odd thing. But with that, you need to be open. You need to listen. You need to hear and actually understand what it is you're hearing and listening to. Ask questions. Trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Someone tells you something that says, "Hey, man, I've been doing this, and I got this result." Okay, that's cool. Now let me try that and see if I get the same result.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, awesome, man. We're going to put that one on the list. And if I get a worse result, then maybe I rethink how it was explained, or maybe I can tweak it, or maybe I go back to that person. They say, well, I tried this, but got this. I didn't get that. And he's like, oh, no, you missed that step. You're, oh, damn it.
Right? So another example, Charlie, is the thing we teach, slow down. I drive 60 everywhere I go. And guys will tell me, well, my fuel mileage got worse. Well, let's figure out why. Is it because your charge air cooler is leaking? That could cause that. Is it because your overhead is out of adjustment? That could cause that. Is it because you have a wonky gear ratio?
Right.
That could cause that. And that's the one where I'll look at it and say, okay, well, for your truck, I was wrong. You need to speed up because you have a wonky gear ratio. But,
Right.
People stop right there. Nope, didn't work. Okay. Why? Nobody ever asked why, Charlie.
Right. Goes back to one. Why?
Yeah.
Hey, so Sue said was re-listening to Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, and one of the things it says is if you learn about and focus on what needs to change, your mind will work on these positive changes and how to overcome. And that's like legit, and she followed up with that said, if you still on the negative, well, how are you working on finding a resolution? Right. And that's like some real like psychology, brain thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's smart people stuff.
Right. And we're not known for being the smartest people, but man, surround yourself with smart people and you will do better. I'm just saying. And Jeff and I have worked really hard at surrounding ourselves with people who are smarter than us in places we are not quite so smart, which brings us to number 3 with the voice crack right there. Cause puberty is my friend today. Jeff, building relationships. Huh?
I love you, man.
Yeah. You like that transition? That was sweet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is another one that we harp on and harp on and harp on, and you guys probably get tired of hearing it. And we don't care because it's a solid principle. Build those relationships. You look at guys right now. So I fall somewhere like in the middle of the road for mileage right now. There's guys doing worse than me. There's guys that are doing better than me. When I look at the guys that are doing worse than me, they're just sitting around waiting to get planned. Right. They have no relationship with anybody. A lot of them don't even know who their OOC is, which is interesting.
Right.
And then the guys that are still doing, we have dudes that are still doing, 3,000 miles a week. And you ask them, well, why is that? Oh, Jake out of such and such terminal, he's a buddy of mine and he's a planner and, I do stuff for him and then he gets me moving.
And this during the time when the average contractor with our carrier was down at, 2,100 miles a week with the freight being all crappy and stuff. And yet they're still doing 3,000.
And I will make the argument because that's just favoritism. Okay. Call it what you want. I got a mortgage to pay.
Right.
This is another one of those separation things between a company driver and a business owner. Own your business is what we call the show today, right? If you're owning your business, hey man, it's a dog eat dog world. We live in a pseudo capitalist society. Not 100% there, but good enough for this discussion. Go get it. The guy that can go out. Dave Ramsey puts it this way on his radio program all the time. You got to learn to go out, kill it, drag it home, and eat it.
Right.
That's how you succeed. And how do you do that in modern society? You build relationships. You build yourself a little pack. You build yourself a team. We talked earlier in some other shows about who's your team. I've got Charley on my team. I've got my wife on my team. I got Sue Smith on my team. I've got Dana Nelson on my team. I've got Lonnie Raines. We don't talk about him much, but he's the terminal leader out of Troutdale. He's on my team.
And now we have Jeff Reese and Tony
Jeff Reese
Dennis and Colton Lawrence from Trucker CFO.
And yeah, that's my pack, my tribe, my team. And each, especially like with Sue and Colton and Tony, those 3 individuals are experts in their fields. No, I don't mean to bash any of the other people we listed, but those 3 people are absolutely experts in their field.
Right.
And so when I have a question about business in that arena, I'm going to call one of them.
Right.
I'm
not calling Sue to ask about insurance.
No, that'd be crazy.
I am absolutely calling Tony though in a heartbeat. Because that guy will overload you with that information.
Yep. I'm not calling Lonnie Raines to ask how to do my taxes. That's a Colton thing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
It's-
You know,
and so it's not only important as you build these relationships, folks, to have them, but understand where each member of your team fits in your business. You know, you have planners that you may have built a relationship with. They're the ones that help you get the freight and keep rolling. You've got people like Sue that'll help you if you really get stuck. And you know, your OOC, Sue has experienced this a little bit from Charlie and I, but boy, Dana's been put through the ringer over the last 15 years.
oh yeah,
You know, we'll ask her, "What do you think of this?" And she'll tell us, "Well, you're stupid and crazy," and we'll be like, "Well, we're doing it anyway."
right,
But she's a good sounding board because she's not afraid of saying you're an idiot,
right.
and she
And
is
wait,
right.
wait.
And she
Sometimes
is
she's
right
right.
a lot of times. You
Yeah.
know?
But
'Cause-
when she's not right, she's willing to go like, well, hell, all right, let's put that down in the book.
right. So
And like Craig Hutchinson said here, until you stop running like a company driver and run your truck like a business, you won't succeed. And that's a quote from Kevin Rutherford.
so you know, Craig, amazing guy. Finally got to meet him. So Craig did an amazing thing, right, Charlie?
Mhm.
He went to reefer.
Right.
But did he just go to reefer, Charlie? What did he do
No.
that was what did he do that we think is awesome and great?
First thing he did, he went in there and talked to his new OOC, the planners, and the terminal leader before he ever really ran a load for him. Legit, like he went down to Decatur, took time out of his day, walked inside, and said, "Hey, let's sit down and chat. What is it, you guys? Where is the weakness in the division, and what can I do to help bolster that weakness? What can I do for you that you have trouble with?"
I think it's even better than that because they asked him, "Well, what do you expect?" And
Right.
he said, "Oh, no. How can I help you?" That's what this
Right.
conversation is about. He
Right.
totally turned it around. And he found out that there's a lane that they can't get anybody to do. So guess what he's doing now?
Right. And he's like,
in that lane.
that's been my bread and butter. I love running the Northeast.
Yeah.
You know?
So, you know, and that took him what, an afternoon?
Right. So TK said the best thing I learned for my business was to remember the first lesson my mentor taught me, which was to plan ahead and know where I needed to stop to get fuel.
Hmm.
I know that guy's mentor. I don't know.
That guy's mentor's a jerk.
What? His mentor was Jeff Morton. The one, the only Jeff Morton right here. Wait. Sorry, I had to hit that button again. Because it was fun. I can't help it sometimes. I forget I have those buttons every now and then, and then I, whatever. Smalls, I'm gonna come back to your question. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you, but we are coming back to that. TK followed up. The second lesson I learned was to have conversation with people who have been in this industry for a long time. They'll give you good advice on how to calculate your money efficiently. And like I said, trust but verify. I've run into a lot of people who will tell you some magical things, and if you do this, this, and that, you're gonna get this, this, and that. And then you're like, wait a minute. I'm doing the math here and none of that works out. So again, I mean, you got to pick the people, you got to find those people, but how do you find them? You build relationships. And when you find the ones that are worth developing the relationship even further, you do just that thing, develop that relationship even further.
And the verify thing. So I was telling Charlie about this. I saw an ad on Facebook for a carrier, which I'm not going to name carriers here, that I'm going to kind of bash a little bit. But their ad was owner operators make $220,000 on however many miles, a month or whatever.
Right.
And so I got my stubby pencil out, and it penciled out to about $1.90 a mile, which is about where the spot market is right now. And so I responded to them, and I said, "Well, I get what you're saying, but that's the trap. You're going to tell these guys they're making $200,000. Well, what's the expenses? What is your average operator actually putting in the bank each month? That's what you need to be telling people, not this BS of, you're going to make $200,000 a year. No, you're not. Your business is going to gross $200,000 a year, But what's going into the bank account? That's what actually matters.
You generated that revenue, but what was your net?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And you look at a lot of these carriers, and Swift is no different. You start looking at your settlement and all the deductions, right? You got this deduction, that deduction, and it eats away little. Some of it's nickel and dime, some of it's a little bigger,
Right.
but all of those
Little cost.
operating expenses are things that you need to know about. So if you have a relationship with like a Colton or even us, we're not accountants, but we can go over a P&L with a guy,
Right.
no problem, and help you understand how to read that. That's something that ticks two of the boxes. You got your education and building relationships, because if you don't know how to do that, you need to build a relationship with someone that can teach you that.
Sean's going to be reaching out to you to run a P&L, by the way. That was the other thing I forgot to tell you earlier.
Oh, okay.
I told him you're way better at it than I am, so which is true. It just is. You're
if
way
it's
more
accurate.
detailed, focused, pinpoint thing on that, and I get a little squirrely sometimes. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, so, but and so just recapping, knowing your why, education, building those relationships, and it brings us right into number 4, I think.
Constantly improve.
Right, and you got to commit to it.
Right.
You should always be learning. It kind of goes back to number 2 when we said, you should always be trying to learn something. And there's a billion ways to make money in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
One may not necessarily be better than the other. There's 12 billion ways to absolutely lose your tail in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stay away from those, right?
Yeah, one of the things Charley and I tell people is we will teach you a way. I didn't say it was the only way. I said it was a way. And Charley and I are both fans of Larry Winget because he speaks our language.
For real.
And one of the things he says is, and I'll paraphrase and kind of put my own spin on it here a little bit. Be a tree. All right. A tree in the forest, it doesn't get up to be about 5 feet tall and say, yeah, I'm good right here. It keeps growing.
Right.
It puts as many roots down as it can. It puts as many leaves out as it can. And it grows as tall as it can. It never stops until the logger comes and cuts it down and makes it into furniture. We need to be like that. Continual improvement. There's always something. One of the books I'm currently reading again is, actually I have it right here, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he tells the story of the British cycling team in that book, and it's amazing. So I was really into cycling when I was younger. I even raced a little bit myself. Wasn't that good. I've never been good at sports, but I sure enjoy playing. But so the British cycling team had never won an international championship ever in its history. They had a new head coach, and the new head coach's philosophy was small changes. He was looking for 1% gains in performance at a time, which would eventually cascade. Well, that cycling team won the Tour de France a few years later.
Right.
They went from a laughing stock. Bicycle companies would not sell them their bikes. That's how bad they were.
They're like, we don't want you to ride our bikes, please.
Right. And they ended up winning the Tour de France a few years later. And that's, for those of you that don't know, that is the biggest bike race in the world. That's the World Cup of bike racing. So, sometimes you're looking at your goals or whatever, and I don't know, man. It's 50 cents here, 50 cents there. Well, what's 50 cents times 365? What's that times 10? And what if you were to save 50 cents 10 times?
Right. I mean, I've told people all the time, I'm trying to figure out how to save a quarter penny.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because that quarter penny turns into 4 of those is 1 whole penny. Right. Then I save 4 of those, and that's 4 pennies. And then I save 4 of those, you know what I mean? And it just starts growing from there. But you make these small incremental changes.
Well, like once you own your trucks outright, you're not under the watchful eyes of IAL anymore.
Right.
I do my own oil changes, which, truth be told, it only saves about $150, $200 a pop. And I had a guy who was in another discussion group talking about that sort of stuff. This he was like, well, $200 just isn't worth my time.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you just said you're one of those guys that changes your oil every like 20,000 miles. So what's that? 2 months?
In my truck, that's a month.
So he's gonna do 6 oil changes a year, right? So that's $1,200 a year.
Yep. For that one little $200 saving.
In 10 years, that's $12,000. What if you invested that in a growth stock mutual fund? What would it be?
Right.
Or maybe you just want to like take an extra week off at the end of the year. Whatever it is. That adds up. So, look for those little changes that you can make and commit to that. Commit to continual improvement.
Yeah. I mean, even Donna's chiming in here. It all adds up. Math is crazy like that. A small amount repeated over time makes a huge difference. And then when you get smart behind that and you find a smart investing way to do that, it starts to compound.
Mm-hmm.
Compound? What does that mean? Jeff, what does compound mean?
I know it means
it grows big. Like the $6 million man for you old people like me.
Yep.
Yeah, for real. Like it just turns into a whole new thing. What's my mile per gallon at 60 right now? My lifetime average is right around 9.0. Hang on, wait.
You can look it up real quick.
Watch this. Let me open up the phone. Let me push that button to close that because that was Sue talking to me, and I'm sorry I didn't read that whole one. Let's see. I'm going to click on my current truck. Oops, I clicked on the wrong spot. Let me click there. Let me go back because on that screen it actually had my lifetime average right now is 8.97. My 90-day average is 9.01. My 60-day is 8.94, and my 30-day is 8.93. You'll notice a drop going on there, and I can tell you exactly what caused that drop. And that was running 70 miles an hour from Denver to Georgia last week.
And I did make fun of him.
Oh, yeah. But it was needed for me to, one, make it on the amount of hours that Rosie and I had left on our logs and to make the load on time. So I knew what it was costing me, right? And I knew what I was going to get out of that. So, on that instance, it made sense to run it or lose the load or call it halfway and not get home when we wanted to be home, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I'm right up around that 9 mile per gallon mark, which is what I've been working on for my lifetime and all of my 30, 60, 90s. I want to be above 9. But further from that, I could actually take that a little further. And, we could actually go into my last couple of tanks. So, 9.81, 8.91. I don't know if you can see those. You probably can't see them. But in fact, you can't. And then, 8.18. That was the remainder of that tank from the Denver run. That was brutal. 9.02, 8.98, 9.58, 9.11. I mean, I have every fuel up that I've put into that truck. 130,000 miles worth of data on my fuel mileage. And so I can answer those questions. And Sue actually touched on something here. Do you know what your operating cost is per day? Many don't know that number. I can tell you that before my fuel or anything else, my fixed expenses, that my truck cost me about $117-ish a day to sit and do nothing. Have to come out of my pocket with that every single day, no matter what, just to cover the truck payment, insurance, and that part of those expenses. Now we start running, and then that changes because then you start adding in the variable costs, right? The fuel, the wear and tear, the maintenance, things like that. And so, but again, how many of you know that number? There's not a lot of people that know that number. I mean, I run into it all the time. People have no idea what their expense to run.
Even your new person that you're building a relationship with, there was a couple points in your conversation you were telling me where she was just kind of floored by, well, crap, I didn't know that.
Right.
But did she say, you Swift guys are full of crap? No, she listened.
Right.
And learned something.
Oh, yeah. There were notes taken. There was discussion that happened and follow-up questions. And that's what really it gave me such energy. I called Jeff afterwards and I'm like, bro, I am so jacked up. You'd have thought I had just been slamming caffeine straight from the caffeine bush, right?
And I was just trying to get home, had a headache. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, good for you, Charlie.
And I was like, woo, bro, I found somebody. I've been talking to him and we were doing this and we talked about this. And he's like, bro, you need to calm down and settle down. I can't process this nonsense right now, you know? But it was cool, you know? Going back to RC Trucker, I'm 6.90, 60-day average, got 2.5 years left on this truck, and I'm getting a new truck. Well, nothing wrong
I
with
would
that
ask
if go ahead.
I would ask if you know why your fuel mileage is so low, because that's really, really low.
Right.
I mean, my fuel mileage is starting to take a hit with my old truck.
Which it will do over time.
Well, it's just getting old, right?
You start
so
losing
my lifetime has gone down to 7.86. I have 800 and what do I have on that thing? Because this one's not, because of the way the app works. It starts with your first fuel up. So I've tracked 885,521 miles in the app on this truck. And it sat at 8.05 forever. It's a 2016 Cascadia. Which for that year, that was pretty good. Guys are getting freaking 9 miles a gallon all day long in these new trucks.
Right.
But I'm not willing to pay $680 a week to get that myself.
Right.
But you know, that's another thing. Do the numbers. Is the fuel mileage bump you might get going to bridge that gap? Is that extra fuel mileage going to pay that payment for you? Look at that. Seriously,
Right.
look at it. And the thing about numbers is numbers don't lie. It's math, you know. If you try and lie with math, I'm gonna get a hold of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's a big guy, and he'll come to your house.
Right.
Just saying. You know, my son is a physics major. I'm sure he has some connections.
Yeah.
But I'm curious why it's so low. There's some maintenance issues that might be going on. Are you doing 70 everywhere you go? There's a lot of things. Because if you're doing 70 everywhere you go, Charlie, how much of a fuel bump is it going to get even on a new truck, do you think? You might get into the 8s maybe.
Doing 70, mid 7s is what I
because
saw.
we have guys with the brand new
high 7s maybe.
You know, trucks. Nothing wrong with them at all. Still getting like 7.5, but they're doing 70. If they just slowed down to 60, they'd be getting 9. I mean, it's a weird thing. There's a lot more to it than that. Obviously, you got to know your final gear ratio and different things like that. But those are some things to look at. Oh, Cummins, that's why. Never mind. Yeah, get a new truck, get a Detroit.
I'm not gonna
Chevy Ford,
right?
I mean, but you know, talk to some people about if you do make that decision, what truck are you going to get? You know, talk to Craig about it. The new Volvos seem to be doing really, really well, or really, really bad.
Maybe we can get Alan Becker involved in that conversation someday soon, because he knows a lot about that Cummins motor. Maybe he could tell you something to look out for there. And he look, that crazy man loves the Freightliner with the Cummins. Like, he's looking for those trucks. Like, he wants those trucks for whatever reason.
I don't get
crazy.
it.
But
the reason, just in case you haven't heard us talk about it before, the reason we like the Freightliner with the Detroit is because that truck was engineered from the engine fan to the rear ends with one purpose in mind, and that was fuel mileage. You know, the engine and the transmission are both
the
built.
Same engineering team.
Right.
Worked together from start to finish to build the entire drivetrain in that thing.
Right.
I mean, that by itself, it wasn't, an Eaton tranny and Dana rear end and, Detroit motor. I mean, yes, they had the individuals, but they all worked together from the front to the back, and they said, let's make this all work.
Yep.
which amazingly worked.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're just now seeing like with the Volvos, the Volvos are starting to beat everybody. But that Detroit engine was king for a long time.
Right.
And there's kind of a race right now to 10 miles per gallon, Charlie. That's what
Right.
the target is, I guess. And all these manufacturers are trying to get there.
I'm digging it.
And it's good for us. Of course, the trucks cost $50,000 more than they did 5 years ago. But again though, if it's going to pay for the truck payment in the fuel, then hey, other things that we could get into, RC, is are you using the max mileage or are you not?
When's the last time
when was the last time you
ran?
had? Yep. When was the last time you ran the overhead? When was the last time we had the Charge air cooler checked for leaks? Which is an interesting thing because you don't want to just take their word for it when they do that. Guess what they will tell you when they run that test is, yep, it's in the specs. That's not good enough.
That's not.
You want them to tell you how much pressure drop was there during that test, and if there was any pressure drop, you need to replace that Charge air cooler. Because if it leaks, it's a weird thing that
every pound of pressure is costing you fuel mileage.
It's a physics thing that I don't 100% understand, but I know that this is what it does. Because of that pressure leak, as you go faster, there's more pressure going through the system, so the engine likes it better. So you'll actually get better fuel mileage going faster than slower if you have a Charge air cooler leak. It's weird. Physics stuff.
So RC, on that question, is there any way to get out of this truck earlier? What I would do is reach out to Juice. If you're in the IEL system, reach out to Juice and explain what's going on and have a conversation and you know what I mean? Be open to a real conversation. Is there a way out? I'm sure there is. Will you get it? Not positive. Can't say yes or no, but you don't know until you ask, right? And be willing to work with them to do that. I mean, it goes back to the relationships thing, right? Reach out to Juice. Julius is his real name. Sorry. You can ask for Juice if you call Rapid Response and ask to speak to Juice, you will get in there. And he's not a bad guy to talk to, and he can have a real conversation with you about what the options are and whether or not that's something that can happen. I would also maybe talk to someone like Michelle Cantrell. If Michelle was your recruiter, maybe reach out to her. I can't speak to some of the other recruiters because I don't know how involved they want to be in something like that, but I know Michelle will have a discussion with you about it, and get you a good idea. So, I mean, there's that. I wanted to go back to something else. Jim Wall had asked. Yep, go for it.
Go ahead. We'll do that one first.
Sorry. What RPM gives the best mileage, lower or higher? I think it depends on terrain. I think it depends on what's going on, rear end ratios, things like that. Typically speaking, if you're out in the flat and it's easy to maintain 1,000 RPM, I believe that is the way to go. Sounds, from physics tells me that's the way to go. Lower RPM, less energy in, less energy out, less fuel, right? If you start talking about maintaining through rolling hills, you might want to hire a slightly higher RPM range for the simple fact that you get that nice little down boost, but maybe 1,000 RPMs on that climb is going to take away too much of your forward momentum, causing your cruise or your foot to lean into the throttle a little more to make it up over that hill and still maintain enough speed. Whereas you might want to give it a little bit of a bump up at that point to keep a more constant, steady flow across the ups and downs. Now, if we're talking about climbing hills, there's a whole nother argument, higher RPM, keep the speed steady, whether that speed is high or low, what have you. But,
the main thing with the hills is keeping your boost down. So if you have a boost gauge and you drive by the boost gauge instead of anything else, and you keep that boost below 18 or 20 pounds of boost, you'll get better fuel mileage in the mountains. It's a pain in the butt. Right. Trust me. I used to teach my students to do that because they were required to drive my truck. Well, I wanted them to because it was my truck, dang it.
Right.
and they would get on the company truck where the fuel mileage wasn't a big deal at the time because their bonuses had nothing to do with fuel mileage back then.
Right.
And I would tell them, yeah, open it up, man. You're not paying for that fuel. They're paying you by the mile. Open it up. But when you're paying for fuel, there's a lot of different tactics you can use.
And an overhead isn't that expensive. It's usually in that $300-$400 range. I think one day cost me $500 because there was some extra stuff that needed to be done. And just before anybody asks, for anyone who doesn't know what an overhead is, having the overhead run, things like that, basically they're adjusting the valves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a valve adjustment because over time, those bolts and those valves will wear out, or the bolts that hold the valves at this specific gapping that they have to create the proper pressure and all that, they sometimes back out or tighten up, and they change the amount of compression you have, and that's what changes that fuel mileage. Sorry.
So I'm going to make fun of Craig real quick, and then we'll move on. Volvo is pushing to be #1 in efficiency. Yes, Craig, we know you're a cheerleader for Volvo. We've got Mr. Smith. We've got Mr. Swift over here. We've got a sidekick here, and you're Mr. Volvo now.
There you go.
How do you like that?
Craig Volvo Hutchinson.
That's right.
We call him Craig V. Volvo Craig.
So he said he's doing 60 at 350K miles on her. Okay, so I hope that you've done the overhead at least once. So you've got the Cummins, the Cummins, right? Yeah. The recommendation on that forever has been do an overhead at 100,000 miles and then leave it alone until you start dropping fuel mileage. Start dropping fuel mileage, go have it done again. I know that on my last time I had one of those engines, I was doing the overhead I did the initial at 100 and it was about every 200 after that. So you might be just due for another overhead.
Right.
And again, they're not that expensive. I just had one done, 2 years ago now on my truck, Charlie.
Yeah.
It cost me $200. But it's an all-day thing because that engine has to be cold as a stone in wintertime when they do that adjustment.
Right.
So it's got to sit there in their garage basically overnight.
Takes up a bay spot. It bums them out sometimes, but whatever.
And the other thing I was going to say is, what's your RPMs at 60 miles an hour? Because what we've seen is on the Kenworths, they do a little better at 62.
Right.
And that has to do with the mechanical advantage of the rear end ratios that they've got on those trucks.
That would be a Cummins shop thing. I wouldn't take it to anybody but your engine manufacturer shop. If you got a Detroit, you go to a Detroit shop. Cummins, go to a Cummins shop. That is what I would recommend.
Same thing for the Charge Air Cooler test.
And check the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Check reviews on the person you're going to take it to. Like, seriously, do a lot of research behind them. Because you may find a Cummins shop that it is garbage. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it starts leadershiping down from there, and it is what it is. So check the reviews and do some due diligence before you take it in, because, you know, this overhead is something that really can affect your bottom line. You know, if you all of a sudden jump up to 8 miles per gallon doing the very same thing, that's huge. I mean, that'll be a huge savings. You know, he said 1150 RPM at 60. That's right about right.
So at 60, mine's right at 12. So mine's geared a little. What would that? I always get it backwards, Charlie. So mine's geared a little lower than his, but not by much.
Right.
I think Rutherford and Bruce would tell you to try and keep it between right around 1250. So, you know, since we're talking about money here, I would probably recommend, Charlie, you know, slap me if you think I'm wrong. Do 62 for 30 days and see what that does to your fuel mileage.
Absolutely.
Get that up into about 1250. Let's see if that helps.
Right. I think there might be a thing there with the Cummins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that
because Charlie, you ran into this
30 days.
Because Charlie, you ran into this. You came off a Chewy doing 57.
Right. I was doing 57.
And you tried that in the new truck, and boy, it was bogging down at any little
I
bump.
could
You
not
bumped it
run.
up to
Yeah.
60, and it was a lot smoother, better fuel mileage.
Yeah, running the rolling hills was way better at 60 versus 57. Honestly, I've just gotten used to 60, so I can't even tell you how it would do out on the flats at 57. I've just gotten so used to running 60. Maybe I'll do that on some more of this OTR time when I get back to the OTR thing. See what kind of mileage we get at 57 on the flats, because I mean I may see the jump that I saw before. I just haven't done the test and haven't, honestly, I just gotten so set at 60 lately. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And
the other thing we didn't mention, RC, is I hope that you're using like the Let's Truck app or something for your fuel mileage and not just your dash. My dash is pretty accurate, but not exactly accurate, and I prefer to be 100% accurate when I'm talking about this
And the
stuff.
dash on my old Freightliner on Chewy, the 07, could be, it was literally, and it was tank to tank. I could be 0.4 of a mile per gallon, plus or minus, up to a mile per gallon, plus or minus. On my new Freightliner, I'm within about 1/10, no matter what.
So we were talking to maybe speed it up to where you're at 1250 on your RPMs. And
Yeah,
see
and
if
do
that
that for
improves your
30
fuel
days.
mileage. Because again, what it may be is on the flats, it doesn't matter so much. Go as slow as you can on the flats without, causing a problem. Because physics. But if you're in those rolling hills, you need a little momentum, I think is what it is.
Right.
If I'm explaining it correctly, I don't know. I do, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Trying to explain it sometimes. Okay, good.
What's up, Greg? So, but and I want to bring us back to the points that we want to make, and that brings us, so number 1 was know your why, 2 is education, 3 build those relationships, 4 committing to continual improvement, which is part of what we're talking about right now. But again, this brings us right into 5, and that's what Jeff and I and everyone contributing in the community, in the chat and things like that, what you're doing right now is sharing your knowledge.
Yep.
Help spread what's working, help spread what, those horrible, oh my God, can't believe I did that and it cost me this much money. Those stories will help someone, hopefully. If one person has a question, what we've seen, if one person is willing to ask a question that, some people might feel is a stupid question or just whatever, we found that, 10 or 20 more people in our community had that question. And they're like, God, thank God somebody answered that question. I wanted to ask, but I felt stupid asking it. But now, oh man, I'm so glad that person asked it, and I'm grateful to that person. Thank you guys for answering that question. Look, we may give you a hard time every now and then just for fun, because it's not a personal thing. We're just goofing, man. We've all had these questions, like, and the reason I pointed out what an overhead, running your overhead is, I had no idea. I actually called the shop one day and I said, I need to have my overhead run. And they said, now, and this should have red flagged me already. They're like, what do you mean? What is it? What is it you want us to do? I'm like, I want to get the overhead run.
Because Rutherford told you to.
Right. Yeah. Kevin Rutherford told me to get to run because it wasn't performing right. And that was one of the things he told me to check. They're like, dude, what does that even mean? And I'm like, oh,
Swift shop, right?
It was. So, yeah. And then I called Detroit and Ocala and I said, hey, I want to get my overhead run. They're like, all right, you need a valve adjustment. Let's bring you in and we'll set you up. And I'm like, well, hot damn. But I had to ask that question to someone. Okay, what does it mean actually having the overhead run? And I felt stupid. Like I should have known that, right? I mean,
You want,
5, 10 years,
I could do you one better on that one, Charlie.
Go for it.
So I was using the dealership in Portland
Mm-hmm.
back then, and I would just go in and tell them, yeah, I need an overhead run, and they would do it. And so I went for 4 years without knowing what that even meant, but having them do it every 200,000 miles.
Right.
Hey, the guy knew. So I, and same thing, Rutherford said, have it done. That's one of the things you check when you start seeing a fuel mileage drop. Had no idea what it meant for 4 years.
Right. It's crazy.
But we also didn't have all this Facebook stuff and ask people questions. You had to call Rutherford on the phone during his show, which was at midnight at the time, to ask the doggone question. So,
So Life on 18 Wheels asks, is there a difference between the DD15s and the 18 to 20 Cascadies versus the new ones? I can't actually answer that question.
I think the only difference, I think that there was some more emission stuff in 18 or 19 or something like that. But other than that, I'm not sure.
And you are most welcome, RC Trucker. We're glad we can help, man. I don't know if you can see, but we actually like these when we start getting the interaction, the back and forth. And those of you guys that are watching this on the replay right now, by all means, go down to the bottom after and drop a question in there. Maybe we'll answer your question. If you have a question during this live or during the replay, type it down there, and maybe we'll answer it later.
Yeah.
Right. Meaning maybe we will have magically answered your question, but you know what? And then say, hey, you guys answer my question, or please still answer my question. You know what I mean? But leave us comments. Let us know what if you think we're doing okay. If you like more of these shows, if you want us to focus on something else one week, let us know, because we are very community driven. You guys are the community. You know, we try to come in with some sort of topic that we wanted to talk about, and we'll talk about it. And sometimes it's great, and we'll spend the whole 2 hours talking about that thing. And other times you guys are like, yeah, it's not what we want to talk about this week. I want to, you know, you guys were talking about insurance. I want to talk about fuel mileage, right? And okay, there we go, man. That's our topic. We're not talking fuel mileage, even though we said we're going to talk insurance, right? You know, so it's you, the community, you, the viewer, whatever you guys want to call it. We are all about this community thing, because us together builds this community. Our community grows. We learn from each other. The community does better as a whole. We expand and everyone does better, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And that's where we're at that number 5, in sharing the knowledge. And that's what we're doing. And we hope that you guys are enjoying that aspect of it, because that's really what we're trying to do. Oh, let's see. I want to go back to Smalls. Smalls had a question, and I put him off a long time, and I hope you're still here, Smalls. Question. So person wanting to start out, is it best to get a brand new truck or a used truck with our current market? I'm going to just jump in here real fast, and I'm going to say the absolute best way to get into this is to find a barely sound running older truck, pay cash for it, and do what you do. Leasing a truck is not the best way to go. It is a way, and it is the way many, many people do it. And if you have the means to go out and pay cash for a truck, that is the best way. If you have the means to go out and finance a truck on the outside at a decent rate for a decent piece of equipment, probably best way number 2. Then you start getting into these leases and these other programs and things like that. Now, there is a low barrier to entry. You know, they may or may not have a down payment that they're requiring today or tomorrow, right? That down payment could be $1,500, $2,500, $5,000, or zero, right?
Depends on what the promos are at the time.
Yeah, you know, and maybe you don't have any truck payments for 4 or 6 weeks, or maybe they're tagging you day one. So if they're tagging you day one, don't sign your lease on Wednesday. If you're coming to IEL and our carrier Swift, don't sign a lease on Wednesday, because they'll tag you for the week that just ended on Wednesday.
Yep.
Pro tip: sign a lease. Sign a lease on a Thursday and be ready to go. Have everything ready to go Wednesday. Sign the lease Thursday and get your butt on the road.
Yep.
So you get a full week out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the reasons Charlie and I do what we do. So there's other guys that kind of do what we do, but they focus on other areas of the business. A lot of these guys, oh, you're one of those lease purchase guys. You're not a real business owner, or this or that. And, you know, we just decided, you know, we got our trucks that way, and we were successful. So it's not, you will never hear me say absolutely lease a truck. If you have any other means to get a truck, it's probably better, you know? So, so there's thousands of people every week that go into a lease purchase program in our industry. Say what you want about it, it's a fact. So what we want to do is help these guys get to a better place. You lease a truck. Okay, you've made that choice. Now let's talk about what's next for you. How do you actually make money with that truck? How do you get that truck paid for so that you're not under the thumb of a leasing company for the rest of your career?
And like CW said here, truck purchase should also match your business model plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't own the truck doesn't make you less of a business person. I don't care what anybody says. We'll arm wrestle or something. It doesn't matter. Even if I lose the arm wrestle, it's not going to change my opinion. We've talked about this in the past. How many of these Fortune 500 companies own the computer equipment or the buildings that they're in or the cars that they drive? Most of them don't own it. It's smarter for them at those levels to lease that equipment.
Yep.
Does that make them less of a business?
Nope.
I mean, there are things there. So yeah,
Yeah, if you look at your registration on a company truck, you know what it says? Swift Leasing Company.
right.
So there
Cool,
you go.
Smalls. I hope that answered your question, and especially being mechanically inclined. I mean, if you can go out and pay cash for an older used truck, maybe with some minor problems, you know what I mean? I mean, think about it. Let's say you can go out and pay cash. Let's say 40 grand for a truck right now. I would prefer that you're something in that model year 2000 to 2003, so that you get away from all the emissions crap, EGR, the whole 9 yards, right?
Just can't run California. That's the only drawback to
Right.
that.
Big deal. I did it for years, had no problem with it. Like I said, the first time I've been to California in 6 years was last week. So never affected my business. Just the border, in my mind, there was an ocean just past Phoenix. That's all I saw. Still ran Oregon, Washington, no problem, much to my dismay. But I mean, still. So if you are mechanically inclined and you can do a lot of this work yourself, look, man, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's say you spend 40 grand on buying the truck. Let's say you get 12 months out of it before you need an in frame or a complete out of frame because you're on a 2 million mile truck. Okay, so be it. You went into that with 40 grand, and the money you can make over the next 12 months with that paid for truck by not having a truck payment, having a lower insurance payment. Your fuel mileage is not going to be 9s and 10s typically. Let's just be real. You'll be running 7s and 8s if you're doing a lot of work and really working at it. The lifetime on Chewy I had was like 7.13 or something like that. But I got to a point where I was starting to do 8s, high 7s. I was, holy crap, doing cartwheels when I hit 8s. So, but it's definitely worth looking at. But there are going to be those costs involved, so you save for those things ahead of time. The best in frame I could think of on my 07 was going to cost me right about $60,000-$70,000 to get everything that I could possibly get done to that truck, which probably would have made it an 8 mile per gallon truck. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
So the ROI on that would have been pretty good. But I unfortunately had a bunch of bad things happen, all stacked up and lined up, and I didn't have the 70 grand to go do it. So I opted, and not to mention the truck was just beating me to hell because it was down the road. Right?
That's the old freight shaker.
Yeah. But with that said, I look, man, there's gold in those old trucks. I don't care what the hell it looks like as long as it runs sound. I mean, Chewy was probably one of the ugliest trucks, and I know it used to piss Brett Stewart off and those guys. They're like, God, get rid of that ugly beast. And man, they jumped at terminating the contract on that truck when I told them I was getting a new one. They were like, poop, yeah, that sucker's out of the system because it was ugly. I mean, it was supposed to be that I think it's a pretty maroonish color that Freightliner put out, but it was more white. Because
not anymore, it's not.
Right, yeah. The oxidation, I mean, it was to the point where I was actually down to primer on some spots, not from like getting hit. The truck was never smashed in anything, literally wearing the paint off. Who cares? Paint's easy. I mean, let's be real. I mean, a high dollar paint job's 10 grand, whatever.
So one of the things you're going to run into, since you're a mechanical guy, right? Get over to this one. Come on, mouse, do your thing.
Right.
Looking to lose purchase, but I've heard horror stories. One of the things that you're going to run into is, so if you were to come to Swift and lease a truck from IEL, you cannot do your own maintenance while you're
It
under that equipment
sucks.
lease.
It drives me nuts, man. The most I can do is like grease stuff up and maybe change a filter.
Yeah. So whereas like pretty much every time I'm home right now, I'm wrenching on the truck, doing what I can, to improve things for myself. You cannot do that on a lease truck because they have a maintenance schedule and it has to be done in an authorized dealer.
Right. The regular maintenance definitely has to be done by their authorized people.
Mhm.
Now, look, you make a repair. Let's say you blow an airbag. I'm replacing air. I'm not paying someone to come replace an airbag. It's
Right.
just too damn easy, and they're going to charge me 3 times what the part costs with
Right.
labor and everything involved. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to tell them, hey, I replaced an airbag. I'm going to send it in my little monthly report, whatever. They're not going to tag me on that, but if you start replacing a turbo, oh, Lord help you.
Right.
They're going to be itching to tag you on that and be like, oh, well, you're not authorized. And it's just a whole deal. I mean, look, it's a contractual thing, and I understand their side. Don't get me wrong. I don't like it, but it's something we agreed to. Like, I would much rather do my own oil changes, but I can't do that anymore. It's a bummer. Because I really used to like getting underneath the truck and just getting dirty, man. And I would learn all these little things, and see all these little pieces that are wearing out over time that I would never have looked at. Yeah, we all do pre-trips. How many actually get under there with a creeper and crawl around underneath your truck every day or on any sort of real regular basis? The fact is, most don't. Okay. It's a lot. But when you're doing that kind of maintenance on your own, man, you start seeing all this stuff and you're like, ping, like light bulbs go off, your eyes open up, you see all these things, and it's cool.
Hey, that looked different last time I was under here. That sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, it is what it is. And sure, there are horror stories, but there are success stories out there in leases. Jeff and I have been successfully at Swift. He's been here since what, 06? I've been here since 2008 at Swift, and I leased about a year and a half after I started. So I've been leasing the entire time. I had a small fleet at one point, all supported by Swift. I paid cash for a truck on the outside 13 months after I leased my first truck, and leased a couple more trucks and had 3 running at one time. So, there's a lot to it. It's all what you make it and whether or not you understand the contract. And most people that have big, huge problems with this leasing thing don't understand their contract or never read it. They just signed it, initialed, and moved on. And then they were blindsided by all these little things, like didn't even know how much money they made per mile. Fuel surcharge? What's that? What?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean I don't get layover pay? What? You're not a company driver, right?
Yep.
There's all these things. So understanding the contract, things like that, Chewy's sitting out on my property right now.
Still?
I could literally go drive her right now if I wanted to, but I physically can't right now, honestly. It's just not good for me to be in that truck doing, 150,000 miles a year and that sort of thing. I'm getting old and I'm broken and all these things are adding up and I don't want any more surgeries.
So,
no more metal parts.
I just got an email from our web developer.
Oh, awesome.
I call him Dad.
Right.
So
I call him Mr. Morton.
So the podcast with Jeff Reese is now up on our website.
Nice. Both parts by any chance?
Yep.
Awesome. I didn't know how to do a thing like that.
Yeah, he's going to give us some training tomorrow.
That's awesome.
I love my dad dearly, but the fact is he's in his late 70s and we need to learn how to do this stuff on our own.
Right. And Sue followed up here. She said, you also start learning to do small fixes on your own instead of calling road service. Hey, look, more money in your pocket. Absolutely. Because you call road service, that's $100 just for them to leave. Mm-hmm. Above and beyond anything they're doing, it's going to be like $100, maybe 75.
And I got a little criticism for this post. I posted the other day that what I observed a dude. It ended up that his alternator went bad on him. He was in the TA parking lot went over and they sent their road truck to come and replace his alternator. Now, that's something I can do myself. I actually have the tools on the truck to do that.
Right.
All I would have done was go talk to the shop, to the parts guy, say, hey, do you have an alternator for my truck? Yes or no. If not, well, there's a hotel across the street. How long till you can get me one?
Right.
Because I am not paying that $100 dispatch for you to drive across the parking lot.
Been there,
And-
done that. Did it in
and
a
I-
TA parking
and
lot,
you
and they weren't
know-
happy with me.
And I get the criticisms. Well, this, that, the other thing. Okay, whatever. I'm saying that $100 it's not worth it to me. The $100 for the dispatch plus the 2 hours of labor they're going to charge you for that 45-minute job at $130 an hour. It's
I would do the alternator on my 23 if it happened. That's one of those parts that I would
out
do
in the wild.
myself. Yep. I would
Yeah.
absolutely do it. I would make sure that I got an OEM authorized or OEM replacement part, right? Or an authorized upgrade to that part.
Which, at a TA, they are a Freightliner
right.
affiliated thing. So
I would do that type of repair. I'm not going to open the engine. Right. I'm not doing anything where I got to crack seals, man, because then you start getting the weird stuff, man. But an alternator, I would absolutely do on my 23, and I might fight with them if they gave me a hard time over. I'm like, look, it took me 15 minutes to do, bro. You know what I mean? I literally unbolted the old part, bolted on the new part. Here we are. It's an OEM part. What is your problem?
Mm-hmm.
The part's warranted. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? And then there's the argument. Well, let's take that exact thing. Let's say my 23 with 130,000 miles on it. The alternator's under warranty. Why would you do that? Because now you're going to pay cash for that part. Because maybe it's going to take them 3 days to get me the replacement part.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has to be the exact OEM. I can't bump up to the next level because it's warranty. They're going to replace it with like kind, right?
Yes.
And now I'm not at the top of the list because I'm not a cash customer, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I'm absolutely going to jump on a repair like that myself, and I'll fight it out if I have to. There's no way they can void the warranty over that one. Not in my book.
KCW, I wasn't going to fight with you yet again on the new truck versus, but this is absolutely just not true. That's a Freightliner issue, not Chewy, not just Chewy, but buy a KW or Volvo and relax. That is not true if you maintain your truck.
Right.
I can tell you that my truck drives smooth as butter. And when it starts getting a little bouncy, I fix the suspension and it drives like butter. That's a suspension issue. And it hasn't been that way.
Really old.
It hasn't been that way since 2000, since the Cascadias came out. That was one of the improvements that Freightliner promised their customers, was to get rid of that freight shaker thing. So come on, man, let's go. Hey, I just watched Jordan's movie, so I'm all ready to go bare knuckle boxing.
Right.
I just watched Bite the Dust with my family. We all loved it. You guys should all go. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on a couple other streaming sites. Go watch Bite the Dust. Jordan Bean from Swift Transportation is one of the bad guys in it. So it's great.
Awesome. James Bond said, I know a guy called On-Road to change his windshield wipers. Bro.
What?
That's just tragic. I mean,
People
look,
change
if you can't do it, you can't do it. But good God, watch a YouTube video.
People change their windshield wipers?
Sometimes. and yeah, markup on parts. I mean, everything else. And, good Lord.
Yeah, I actually get my windshield wipers from the parts counter at West Valley City terminal because nobody beats their price on those. It's like $8 for both of them.
I need to sell Chewy Life on 18 wheels. He asked if I was selling Chewy. I need to, but I'm so attached to her. And, if I sold her, I'd probably sell her for 20 grand. And I'm afraid to sell her to anybody I know because, I'm that guy that I will feel bad if, I'm not expecting something to happen tomorrow. But what if something happened tomorrow? I'd be like, oh, well, let me save me some money back. And I don't want to. I don't want to do that. So if I do sell her, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, man. So it's a weird. thing. And look, Alan Becker tried to buy Chewy from me, and I absolutely turned him down. And he was going to pay me like the 20 grand. And I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't think anything bad would happen to her, within the next, few months, a year. Right. I mean, I know that she needs work. When I retired her, I figured sometime in the next 12 months or so, she was going to need to, all the major seals replaced, because the major seals are starting to weep slightly. Right. And I didn't like the looks of it. And, there's nothing that indicates that I need an in-frame to actually have the pistons and all that done. But if I'm going to have all those that broke down, I might as well do it. Right. So yeah, it's a weird
Yeah,
deal.
we actually kind of had this thing going on for a while, Charlie and I, where I'd ask him, so how much oil did you go through this month? And he'd be like, a gallon. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I still haven't used a drop.
Right.
And this would go on for months. Like I would be at time for a B surface and still not have put any oil in my truck.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chewy was notorious for about a gallon every 25,000-ish miles.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty steady. And mind you, that was from, it's funny because before my in-frame, it started at about 1,000 or a gallon per 20,000, right? And over time, I got her at 490,000 miles, and at about 900,000, I was literally up to like a gallon every 400 miles. It was definitely beyond time to have it done, right? Got it done, got the rebuild done, the in-frame done at Detroit in Ocala, and went back to 1 gallon every 25,000-ish miles. And it's still like that now. Maybe I'm a little higher, but again, I've got these slightly weeping seals. So there's that steady little bit, right? And it's just weird, man. So I don't, there's no indication, but whatever. Oh, God, I love that truck. I really do. Ugly and beat me up. Still love that truck.
Let it go.
Had a guy sat 8 hours to change a headlight bulb. That's insanity.
I always have at least 6 or so headlights just in my glove box, just ready to go. I don't get some of that stuff.
Hey, James said that he's gonna buy Chewy for 20 grand.
And then get her all fixed up and sell her back to you for 20 grand. In Mexico.
Yeah, I'm not buying her back. Once she's gone, she's gone. I promise you. I got places I can put that 20 grand. But you know what? You want to take this truck to Mexico? You come get it, James, and 20 grand, and it's yours, cash. I'm not taking payments, bro. Look, if Jeff offered me payments on a truck, I'd be like, no, bro, it's cash. There's no payment, so let's just be real. Oh, good Lord. CW said that when I started driving 30 years ago, Shakers had a bad rep, but they're still behind the KW today. Whatever.
I don't think so.
I liked my KW. I did like the ride in my KW.
We're getting into Chevy
really
versus
nice
Ford
seats
again on that. I mean,
but I was still running. Okay, tells you what a cheap bastard I am. I'm still running like stock Freightliner seats in Chewy. I could have upgraded those seats and had a completely different experience.
Is there any pleather left on them?
They were fabric.
They were. Okay.
Well, they're mostly fabric. They look kind of thready in some spots, whatever.
I'm still sad that I can't buy a freaking Bros Ride seat.
I know.
Those things were awesome.
And she does have LED bulbs, just saying.
Yeah.
Like I redid all of the lighting on Chewy, rewired a bunch of that stuff. All the, you know what? All the wiring from the alternator back to the batteries and back is all marine grade weaponry double lot craziness. Like I bought this insane wire that they use to build Patriot missile systems, and that's what I replaced all my main wiring with. It's pretty good. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Stuff's heavy.
More room in the Cascadia. I don't know if that's true. I like my Cascadia, don't get me wrong. My T660 was amazing in a sleeper. I hated the driver's cabin. myself, but I love the sleeper in that thing. My 680 was pretty comfortable. I like my Cascadia now. I don't know. I don't know. I dig it. CW said I used to use the Eldorado seats. Yeah, I don't know anything about seats. That's what's bad. I like the seats that came in the KW. Not the leather ones. I never had the leather ones because I'm a cheap bastard, right? They were always cloth seats, but I liked their functions.
I want to get one of those ones with the Serta pads and stuff on them. Those are nice. They're spendy, but
right. Well, just to recap real quick, we touched on our 5 things. Know your why. Important that you can't get me and Jeff past knowing your why. Education, building those relationships, commit to continual improvement, y'all. Keep learning. Always stay hungry for more knowledge, and then share that knowledge. So I just wanted to make sure we recapped all that. Anyone who came in late, and you're going to catch us on the replay, but please let us know what you think. Share your thoughts. Let us know. Comment down there in the bottom, not over there on the side, not over there on the side. You guys that are here right now, you're commenting over there. When the show ends and the people watching replay, they comment down there and below, and do that so that we can hear your thoughts. You got some show ideas? Throw them at us, man. We'll put stuff together and see if we can't make you happy.
Yeah.
Or make you mad.
Yeah. The other thing about sharing your knowledge, in the medical community, they have this thing where when you're learning a new procedure as a doctor, like in the ER and stuff, they have a thing where they watch one, do one, then teach one.
Right.
And that last step is important because if they can't teach it, how well do they really know it?
Okay. So here's funny. Ready? Watch this. I was teaching someone how to mount drywall anchors in a wall so that they could hang a curtain rod today.
Oh, okay.
I did the first 2, explained what I was doing, and did the first 2 anchors. And then I had the other person perform the next 2. Only needed 4 anchors total. I explained, I showed, they did.
Nice. You're a doctor now.
And they could explain it to me afterwards. Because I asked, okay, so what is it you did? And why did you do it? And how did you achieve that? Follow through even. Man, watch out. It was a good day today, honestly.
CW wants us to mention that there's a slowdown in the next 3 weeks due to a UAW shutdown, apparently.
Huh. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know how much that will affect us in reality.
We'll see what happens, I reckon. I've been doing groceries, so UAW is not going to affect my grocery stuff.
If you're up there in New Boston or something like that.
Right. UAW is United Auto Workers, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know that stuff real well. I'm not a union guy, so I don't know, whatever. Don't want to piss anybody off there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird is try to find out news on the shutdown of the LA ports the last couple of weeks. Kind of hard to find out what's going on with that.
Right. Look, the news lately has not been our friend. Jeff and I were talking about this the other day. May touch on something that we shouldn't, but whatever. The news keeps distracting us with crap.
Yep.
They keep putting crap out there. Hey, look at this shiny thing. Oh, you should really pay attention.
I mean, this last week was really bad. I bet all of you know about that submarine that imploded last week.
Right.
How many of you know what legislation was passed on Capitol Hill? None of that was covered. So regardless of what side of the alley you hail from, that's kind of concerning a little bit. Or like my question, what's going on with that shutdown, that strike and stuff like that at the LA ports? I haven't heard anything about it.
Right.
Okay, that could
makes sense.
Yeah.
Auto manufacturer trucks will be going OTR during the shutdown or auto part haulers. Yeah, that makes sense.
But we're still
trucks in the market.
Oh yeah, James Vaughn. Yeah, I had to hunt for that one, by the way. Yeah, I don't know that we want to get into all that, but yeah.
Right.
I actually brought that up with Charley. I said, "Did you know that like the Russian version of Blackwater just marched on Moscow last
And
week?"
I hadn't heard anything. I was like, what?
I'm like, yeah. I just doing my normal looking for news that I do, and it wasn't even like the first story on the first page or anything you'd think it would be. But okay. But hey, you know, I know about those billionaires that died going to look at the Titanic.
Right. I mean, you know, oh, my light just freaked out. That's awesome. Got some flickering going on. It's freaking me out, man. I thought it was my eyeballs for a minute.
Yeah.
But if you guys got any questions, by all means, throw them up. We're in that home stretch of the show, you guys. If there's anything you want us to touch on real quick, let us know. If not, if we can't get to it, or you know, maybe we don't get to it before the end, throw it down in the comments after the show, not in the chat here. The live chat won't transfer over into those comments. So by all means, and those of you who made it here this long, and God bless your hearts for hanging out with us this long. Don't forget to hit that mighty thumb, y'all. It helps us out. You know, like I said, if you like what we're doing, let us know. If you don't like what we're doing, let us know what you think we need to improve on, and we will do what we can. And maybe we'll just argue about it. Maybe we'll draw pictures.
Well, you know, we actually got a legitimate criticism a couple of weeks ago after hours that our show tends to just be the same thing every week. Well, I would agree with you there, but it's driven by the viewers.
Right.
You know, this individual, we don't know who he was because it's, you know how the social networks are. Well, why didn't you ask us a different question? You could have gotten us on a different track.
Right. And the comment he left was after the show was on a replay, was simply that, it's the same show over and over. And I responded, I said, well, okay, rather than just leaving that and leaving it there, tell us, what is it you'd like us to see?
Yeah.
What would you like us to talk about? Because we are absolutely open to new stuff. And good look, and if you can find something that's going to teach us something new, man, we are going to be all about it. I can tell you that right now. We love to get into stuff that we don't know about. Sometimes it hurts our head. Sometimes it's a little painful. But, you know, education is expensive. It's going to cost you money or energy or pain. Let's just be real. And do you know what happened? Never responded.
Yep.
So, you know.
I mean, legitimate criticism.
Yeah.
We asked a follow-up question. Nothing.
Crickets. Cricket. That's my cricket.
So if you guys want to see us do something, you have a question that's just gnawing at your brain, let us know, man. And if we don't know, we will find out. We'll go into research mode.
When we switch over to our private community that is happening fairly soon, you know, you're going to get there and you're going to be like, all right, what are we doing? Well, it's a community-based community. Community-based community. That didn't sound right, but you know Jeff knows what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to say the word.
It's a community, not a social network.
Right. So, you know, input from you, input from us, input as the community as a whole is going to grow that knowledge base.
Right.
Right. The more everyone is involved, the better that community will become.
Right.
It's not something to be there and cry and complain. Oh, I hate Swift, or I hate Schneider, I hate JB Hunt.
That's not what we're about on there. You could do that on Facebook.
Right. Okay. I have a problem with the way my JB Hunt dispatcher or board is going, and here's a possible solution. Now that's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a discussion about it, right? You know, let's grow. Let's learn. Let's gain knowledge. Knowledge is important, and we can do that through this community. So keep an eye out for that. We should have some information to talk about that fairly soon. Check out the website. It's under construction. Like I said, we both have said this. It is growing, and you know, we've got new things popping up here and there on it. So check it out. Contractorscorner.cc. It's real simple to get to, and you can learn a little bit about Jeff and I and some of the things that we're doing and trying to do better and things like that. You can join our mailing list, which is inactive right now, but we will be working on that soon. Jeff's working on building a blog and just all kinds of things, you guys. You know.
So, you know, again, you want to sign up for the mailing list and you'll get the blog, you'll get the newsletter, all that's going to be free still. that we're still going to do the show. So all 20 of you guys are out there.
Right?
Don't worry. Don't worry
The
about
tens
that.
of you watching.
Yes. But,
We dig it.
one of the things we're looking at is extending how many people we can help.
Right.
So on the subscription side, here's what you're going to see, and here's what you can expect to get. And then, we're just going to let the market decide if it's really worth it, because that's what we believe in.
Right.
So when you sign up, it's going to be pretty bare at first. That is, those of you guys that are in our private Facebook group, get in there. We have an offer just for you that's going to not be offered to anyone outside that group, because, you've been with us all this time, and we want you to be there and help us build this thing.
Right. But it's a pretty clean slate.
And, we're going to be doing, these classes that we've been talking about are going to be on that platform. And the subscription that we're asking covers all those classes. It's none of this freemium stuff where, come and complain about stuff and then pay $500 for this class. No, it's all inclusive.
Right.
There'll be different tiers. We're working on other stuff for the future, but the classes and things like that, it's all inclusive, and you'll have access to that forever.
Right.
Our first class is going to be on fuel mileage, fuel purchasing, and we haven't decided quite how long that's going to be, because we do have trucking companies that we run as well, so we understand what kind of time you guys have, because we're in there with you. So we're thinking, maybe half hour on a Wednesday and do it for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
And knock it out step by step by step. And then, so here's where you guys come in. That one's a no-brainer class. Everybody needs help with the fuel mileage and the fuel purchasing, because we all give lip service to it and then don't do it.
Right.
If you decide to join this community, we ask that you're serious students. And one of the things that serious students do is ask a lot of questions.
Right.
They get involved. They take action. So at each step of the way, my blog is actually going to be called Jeff's Action Blog. And every week I'm going to blog about something you can do today to improve your life overall. Mostly about business, obviously, because that's what we do. But, these principles really are universal.
Right.
Your level of happiness is at stake with every decision you make. So I'm going to be going over that. Charley, we're still working on.
Right.
We'll get him to do something.
I'm more of a free floating kind of free spirit guy. What happens right now, I'm going to react to.
The other class that we're actively working on is going to be free to everybody, and we just need to figure out how to distribute it. And that is a basic bookkeeping class that we're collaborating with Colton Lawrence on.
Yeah, which he is actively going to be contributing into this thing. Let's be real. He's going to be the driving force behind that thing.
Right.
And we're going to be the guys going, okay, but what about this? But what about that? Right.
Yep. So it's going to be community driven, and we'll do that first class again, no brainer. But what classes do you guys want to see us do?
Wimpy McPote wants to do a show on bankruptcy. We're trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
That's our goal. Let's keep everybody out of that realm. But thank you for the suggestion. Charley can teach how to molest tires.
Yeah, more in-depth maintenance stuff.
Yeah,
is another thing we can do.
Definitely one of the things that I really would like to get into. And we have some pretty good people, via Craig Hutchinson and other people that we have met over the years, that we'll be able to bring them in to those discussions. Mm-hmm. And those, classes, what have you, webinars, whatever you want to call them, however we format it, for that one. And we will progress from there. But with that being said, thank you guys once again.
We hit a natural break right at 2 hours. Look at that.
Right? It's pretty good. And so thank you guys for being here. Hey, if you haven't swapped over to Seabright Agency on insurance, I think we're going to try and get Tony on next week. I'm not positive. We will be here the 4th of July. So anyone who's around on 4th of July, if you're not here, we get it. Don't worry about it. You ain't going to hurt our feelings. But I am definitely going to be here. I think Jeff's going to be here. And we will do the show the 4th of July. And I think I'm gonna program up a fireworks display to share with everybody that will be a huge and utter letdown. Ha! There you go. I'm giving you some inside info that I haven't told Jeff yet.
I thought maybe we could play Stars and Stripes at the beginning or something.
Right. So
I don't think that's copyrighted, is it?
Probably. Who knows at this point?
Get shut down.
Yeah. But thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us. If you can be here next Tuesday, great. If not, hey, catch the replay. Whatever, we will do what we do, and we're going to try and get Tony on, and we'll see if that happens. Once again, thank you guys for hanging out, spending your time with us. It does mean a great deal with us. Jeff, you got anything else?
Nope. I'm good.
That's Jeff. I'm Charlie. This is Contractor's Corner. We'll be live next 4th of July at 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Contractor's Corner. You guys be safe.